What's up, everybody? Thanks for coming in. Gonna go over some potential short-term bullish action. A bearish month so far, but going over some bullish signs. So stay strapped in. We'll get started here in a minute. All right, welcome in, guys. How we doing? Good to see you guys in the chat. Got our regular crew here. Got Clate the Great, Gazgano. Thanks for modding, bro. Willem, Anthony T, Julia, Mr. Howie, Zed Carmoot, Bitcoin Slut. Good to see the regular crew in here. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for popping in. So, you know, today was a kind of sideways, kind of meh day for crypto. Like overall, nothing really crazy standing out here on the crypto bubbles. Let's see here. Okay. So what I noticed on the Bitcoin chart after taking my daytime nap, I did my burpees, took my nap, woke up, and obviously if you just look at the chart naked on the daily, this looks pretty toppy, right? It looks like it wants to come down to the bottom of the range. If you look at the weekly, market cipher B's waves do not look pretty at all. I mean, we've lost the 60 line. We're getting a pretty much, I would call this a divergence. Like, this has come down so steeply that you know, like basically this is flat topped out, right? This is at risk of like a Bart Simpson type of effect here when the momentum dies down despite the price only being able to hold its current levels. So this is in fact a bearish weekly chart. The 2-week momentum seemingly pouring out, and the monthly also backing us up on that bearish idea. So overall, I'm still quite bearish, right? That being said, if we come down on the time frames, and this is not even something that I'm going to be entering a long on because I don't want to manage this long. I have a plane flight this weekend. I don't really know how long this trade is going to unfold, and so I just simply don't have the means to manage a big trade right now. But what I'm noticing is, first of all, on the daily, it does actually look like the yellow oscillator wants to come up a little, and this wave potentially could start rounding out. We're definitely front running some shit, but let me show you some things I saw on the anchor. So if we place an AVWAP on May, we haven't fallen below the May anchor yet, and so the May anchor of the previous month's volume weighted average price is still holding us up. And so until we lose this line, it is, you know, we want to see what happens at this line. We've already proven that we can bounce quite fiercely off of that May anchor. It could happen again, maybe not as fierce, but if I slap one on June, right, this is the range we're trading in. If I slap a VWAP on June here, so you have a VWAP on June 1st, the start of this month, and a VWAP on May 1st, the start of last month. And I believe that this is our range. I believe that Bitcoin is potentially ranging from 66,759 to 69,415. Now, obviously, things could get, you know, real ugly. And if we lost the May anchor, if we lost 66,744, this level that we're at now, you know, I would expect us to come down quite fiercely down to the bottom of the range. And so, you know, if you were going to enter a long off of some candle strength on support on this May anchor, you have the stop loss levels. You have the previous low, you have this anchor here. And so, you know, if anyone did execute on this move, you have the levels where the idea is proven wrong. But what I'm suspecting here is, first of all, yesterday I said Bitcoin is likely sideways down. You know, I think it's likely that it is more range bound than it is volatile at this point. Like, you know, we could probably play around in this range for quite a little bit, right? And so this is the basis of this stream, is just the idea that, like, look on the 4-hour, you know, you have the price has pretty much held a bottom, but the blue wave, if this can pinch up a little bit, the blue wave has created a higher low on the 4-hour planning time frame. The RSIs have come down substantially, and overall, it is holding, you know, the bottom of this range. If you're in a sideways range and you're a range trader like Jason Casper, this is your range, right? And so to be bearish on Bitcoin at this point, you actually are a little bit late if you're not early. So, like, what I mean by that is, like, there's all these YouTubers coming out saying that we have to face the music, that the reality is that Bitcoin is bearish and all these things. but they're kind of saying it at that they could be saying this at an inopportune time. They could be saying this at a moment in time where Bitcoin actually finds some short-term relief on the May anchor, and we are simply playing between the May and June AVWAPs. So even though the overall picture may be bearish, we may one day slip below this May anchor and flip even more bearish. It just simply hasn't happened yet. Yes, June is a bad month so far, but the resistance overhead is kind of what we're magnetized to. You know, Bitcoin, if anything, it wants to come up and continue to retest the June anchor until it gets hardly rejected. Bitcoin, imagine like a nerd on the school bus, and he's crushing on the prettiest girl in school, and she just like punches him in the face and rejects him. It's like the Jason Casper 6-1 ETA thing. Like, Bitcoin is that nerd, and it's going to try and keep asking the June anchor out on a date, and the June anchor is going to keep rejecting it. That's what I suspect may be happening. So where we are at this point in time is we actually might get a potential long scalp here off of this May anchor. Now, if we fall over the weekend, if we slip below the May anchor and things just go to shit, well, then you'll know why. It's because we're under a bearish June anchor that sloped down, and now we would be under the May anchor. So if we go to my macro AVWAP chart with all my fancy schmancy VWAPs from all the various points. Another reason why I'm suspecting that this could be like a kind of Jesus point, turnaround point, like where Jesus comes and saves Bitcoin temporarily, is like, look at this net of VWAPs that we're sitting on here. Yes, it is possible that we slice through this, but you can't deny that, you know, the all-time high VWAP, the orange VWAP from the yearly high, is a little bit sloped up on us, right? And so that upward slope is nice. You know, the May VWAP is sloped up a bit. All these anchors are kind of sideways up, right? And so even though June is like a sideways down, the overall picture here is still sideways up until further notice. And technically Bitcoin is still out of the gulag, right? Like, if you were to get rid of this June anchor and kind of ignore the current month, you know, this is what typically when an asset busts out of its VWAPs, that is the time where if it's going to pump, it would, right? Like, it can't pump from below the VWAPs. It has to get over the VWAPs before it can pump. And so it has met the criteria for it to go weirdly bullish out of nowhere. And so I don't really want to count that possibility out. I believe that this could actually pump up. And God forbid, if we were to break above the June VWAP, you would see things kind of flip a lot more bullish out of nowhere. So, you know, this is a possibility that could happen, and I don't want us to ignore it. So just don't get caught up in, you know, the YouTuber narrative, because they have to make money saying what all the others are saying. And so if all these bigger channels are flipping bearish, just remember, you got to be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. I know this is a goofy, silly game of everyone being wrong all the time, nonstop. It's kind of hilarious, man. But I mean, I could be wrong here. I could be wrong here, and then we could just simply dump down. You know, I really don't know what's going to happen. But all I can tell you guys is we're still over this net of important VWAPs, like the all-time high VWAP, the Q2 April 1st VWAP, and the May VWAP. And even though we're interacting currently with those three VWAPs, but even if we aren't interacting with these other ones, such as the poop line, which is our VWAP from the yearly low, the year to date, which is our VWAP from the first of the year, you know, that's the idea that Bitcoin's having a good year. We're still well above that line for now. So, you know, these VWAPs are influencing the price positively just by being down there and just by floating us up. So there could be a long scalp. I just can't follow you guys into it because I got a plane to catch, literally. So on the short term, let's see. Maybe we could place some short-term levels that, you know, we really need to come over. So if we placed a VWAP at this low here, this is interesting. So because we had this kind of big pump up, that creates a difficult expectation for the short-term price. You know, this drags our VWAP up and creates a kind of high resistance point. And so in the short term, it would take Bitcoin quite a bit to really flip bullish on the people who were believing in it down here. So if you bought here and then we pumped up and pumped down, now you kind of lost confidence, and you would have to come up to this point right here to regain confidence if you believed in Bitcoin at this low. That's kind of like the way I'm reasoning this VWAP interaction here. Now, so that's the support side. This is a steady baseline that we should have held right here. We should have bounced right off this point and gone straight up, right? If we were super bullish, but we didn't, which makes me think we are a little more sideways. But, you know, if we can come back over, I guess, $67,000 or $67,951, then short term, we do look a lot more bullish going back up to the spider line there. And unfortunately, that's kind of far away on the short term, just because this pump here was so high, it drags our volume weighted average price up higher and creates a difficult resistance for the short term price to come over, despite being at strong support here. So if we go from this high up here, this high that we just got, this is another level we want to come over. This is the bearish idea that that we're going to dump off that spider line, right? And so these VWAPs are actually kind of converging into one similar idea, which is kind of what we want to see. You know, we want to see a very strong level where if Bitcoin can pump up to that level, it's either a major short down or it's the point in time where Bitcoin kind of regains traction and you have the basis for like new higher lows to form from that point, because that's the point where we've defeated, not only have we held the steady baseline we need to hold, but we've also defeated the bearish idea from this rejection here. So I guess you just have some strong resistance, a very strong naked point of control, as you guys love that term. You guys love talking about naked points of control. I'll give you my naked point of control. But yeah, that's a definitely a point of control, even though it's not the technical definition. I'm just using that term like loosely. This is an important level to watch. 68K, pretty much. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. This is the 65-minute time frame here. Carlo De Leon says show naked. LOL. LOL, bro. Believe it or not, I don't have pants on tonight. Anthony T says that spider line interaction is nuts. Yeah, man, this was a crazy... I mean, think about how we skirted on top of it, right? And then we short right off the June anchor. The June anchor has also been killer like the spider line. I would say the June anchor is even more killer than the spider line because it's volume weighted, right? The June anchor didn't get you snagged in your short like the spider line did, you know, and it was leading in the fact that like it caught the tippy top of the point where you would have wanted to short the market down further. So I love CF spider lines, but I think I like my volume weighted average prices just a little bit more. But they go hand in hand for me. Like I use them both strategically. But yeah, that June anchor was a second. You got a second big short here. Yeah, so that is where I'm at. Is this is actually potential long scalp on Bitcoin. Just a short-term thing here. So thanks for letting me go over my Bitcoin update. So let's take a look at ETH, BTC, and Ethereum here. So I do see us bouncing off some VWAPs here, interestingly enough. Looks like this is a VWAP. This is the quarter 2 VWAP. This is not a nothing burger. This is the quarter 2 sentiment itself on ETH BTC. We're potentially showing a bounce here. I see on the short term, on the 4-hour, we have waves coming up, price coming down. So I believe it's a good time to if you are holding cryptos, despite things looking all rickety and shit on the big time frames, if you are holding cryptos, ETH right now might not be the worst coin to hold. It looks like it's about to trend pretty nicely on Bitcoin from this point, right? It has some resistance overhead for sure. You might slam your head a little bit up here, but overall, we would expect ETH to start trending on Bitcoin, I would think. Let's see here. I mean, yeah, if you look at the daily, like, you have... The thing is about ETH BTC is, like, you have an uptrend in money flow that extends way far. So, like, there's an ETH bull run in relation to BTC that I believe extends into, like, halfway through next year. So, you know, that's a pretty gnarly, like, long-term projection on Ethereum. But Ethereum should start performing better over Bitcoin over time as this MFI wave kind of trends up on us. Even if it continues to be kind of red and kind of meh for a little bit, overall I think it's looking pretty good. If we go to the weekly, you can see like our weekly waves haven't really given us like substantial uptrend. Like down here, you know, you see us like forming higher lows and you see the money flow very clearly trending up. Whereas right now we're kind of in like a blob. It's kind of like this. Dude, I don't know, man. It's looking a little weird on the weekly. So it's still cooking on a macro, but I believe that overall it's gonna come back. Let's look at Sol BTC. Now, Sol BTC's weekly, just from eyeballing it, it's not looking too hot. I don't like that we've fallen under. Let's see, that's the March anchor. Oh wait, that's the, okay, this is the quarter two. So yeah, the fact that Sol BTC is now having a poor quarter in relation, Sol's having a poor quarter in relation to BTC at this point. It's under its April anchor, whereas Ethereum is finding strength on it. We are now slipping below it. So take that for what it's worth. It's even under the year to date. So like from the first of the year, we've slipped below that line where now we can say with confidence that Sol did not perform well against Bitcoin this year. That's interesting to think about because, you know, Sol, there's so much hype around Sol, but when you talk about it in this sense, the hype is actually not really there. Yeah, I mean, Sol definitely stole a lot of heat and kind of has just gone sideways with it for sure. You know, you're kind of in this consolidation here. I see like a triangle pattern. This could potentially hold Sol up. I'm not saying Sol has to like crash down or nothing. It just simply is like not looking very strong on its anchors, and it's just not giving us that momentum kind of strength. So I guess you'd be banking on some sort of pennant pattern like this if you were bullish on Sol, but this could break down. Like, you know, this doesn't have to hold here, and we're under the VWAP. So let's see, let's slap a June anchor on there. Yeah, you slap anchors on like May and June, and you know, we're just under this shit. So not a good chart to you know, basically the moment where you think it's coming up, like let's say you buy a bunch of Sol because let's say like, oh, you see the blue wave's trending up, right? And like the price kind of came down a bit. That looked like a bounce point, right? And so you long it and you don't even get to like the profit taking point. You know, like see like this wick here, like it's getting like slammed down before even hitting the profit taking point. So yeah, it's a tough, I wouldn't necessarily want to be saving Sol in relation to BTC right now. So it's not, Sol is like not even really on my radar right now. If we look at Sol, there could be trades in here. Obviously Sol's a great coin to trade. It's decently volatile. We're looking at the actual Sol chart here. Okay, so we are well under our June anchor. June anchor has seemed to be doing an okay job of pushing the price down. Not the cleanest interactions with VWAP, not very clean interactions, but that's another thing is if you do trade with these VWAPs, you want to pick charts where the interactions are clean, you know? But interestingly enough, like while Bitcoin is like holding on its May anchor, look at Sol kind of just losing steam, right? Like we were having a good May, and now we're just under both of these. So, yeah. Currently, these are going to be serving as resistance, and Sol just has a long ways to come before it's in a strong position. Let me see if there is a larger support that Sol has found. You know, maybe we could go to like a recent low and find something. Like, see, like if you place a low at this consolidation that we had back here. I mean, this gives you some, if you do this, if you go to like relevant lows, this gives you like really good macro support levels to look at, right? Just technically based stuff. Or maybe even like the first of the year. You could place one on January 1st, the year to date. This gives you some potential levels to watch for candle strength. Like if you did get some candle strength off of the VWAP, off of our, this looks like a yearly low. This looks like, basically this is like the poop, this is Solana's poop line. So I'll make this brown. Kind of like how Bitcoin has its poop line at its yearly low. Solana has basically the people who bought Solana at this yearly low back in January. They're now the ones who are basically on the chopping block as to like, are you guys going to hold this market up or not? So this actually is a potential, kind of like how Bitcoin has a potential long scalp. You could wait for some candle strength here. And I do see like on the 2 hour, let's see, 2 hour, 4 hour, you see a similar kind of long scalpy kind of play on Sol with the waves trending up and the price kind of just holding flat. And so there might be a little bit of long scalp action. Just know that you're in a kind of bearish environment, so the cards are not quite stacked in your favor like they are with Bitcoin, but it is at some decent volume weighted average support down here, the yearly low. If it did have to break this level, we would still have some support at the year to date. So the year to date's down at 137. This would be like kind of like the final breaking point as to whether Sol is having a good year or not, you know. And you guys have to remember that Sol is not really trending that well on Bitcoin. Now, short term, you could see like you could place a VWAP like at this high here. That would be a potential target, 151. So we could go up like we could go up a couple bucks here on Sol. If you come over that, you could make a play up to your May and June anchors there. As for Ethereum, it looks like it's holding its May anchor pretty decently here, just like Bitcoin. So this is interesting. So on Ethereum, I like what we're seeing here on this May anchor. Yellow oscillator coming up, wave potentially pinching over. Your planning timeframes are looking nice and bullish divergent here with the candle bodies. It looks quite nice for a scalp up, back up to the June anchor there. It's come down pretty good, like it chopped down in here. What was that retracement? You got a nice healthy 50% retracement there. So Ethereum finding some good support on that May anchor. That's what you would want to see for your Ethereum people out there. And also ETH, we saw that it looked like it was kind of trending on Bitcoin a bit. So I think the ETH long scalp might be even better than the Bitcoin or Solana long scalp. Luna Moon Rocket says, "Can you look at Link?" I'll take a peek at Link for you, man. Link's a good project that I've used in the past to kind of like amplify my ETH gains. Link, not in the best position, man. Fallen under its previous 2 months anchors. A couple sentiments kind of bearing down on it for sure. It's under its year to date as well. Not in the best spot. I don't know, man. I don't think. I think what we want to look is the Link ETH chart. Right now, the actual Link chart doesn't look that great. Market Cipher B is saying on the daily it could turn up and it could just keep clinging to these VWAPs, and you know, maybe it could come back up and regain some posture over these and show some strength. But let me take a look at Link ETH. Because this is what it all comes down to, right? What's the point of holding a shitcoin if it's going to trend badly on Bitcoin or ETH? And yeah, unfortunately, Link has not done well in relation to Ethereum. So add it to the list of shitcoins that should be performing well, but at the end of the day, you're practically better off just holding Ethereum, and like holding these projects is basically just them stealing your Ethereum from you. I mean, for me, like Link has a long ways to go before it's trending on Ethereum in such a way where I fuck with it again. I mean, I wouldn't even want to swap Ethereum for more of this shit unless we came over these VWAPs here, unless we came over like a half a cent or something. Or, I'm sorry, whatever, you know, 0.005 there. Julia wants me to go over Ando. Let's take a peek at Ando. Let's see. She's asking a question. Ando trailed on its 3-week May anchor, then was liquidity grabbed through the spider line. Right now it's still over its May anchor. That's, I mean, that's a good sign of some strength there. Man, I'm impressed with Ando's overall performance here. You know, we have come up over the last couple months, had a big wave. You definitely see the point in time where it lost steam there. But even after it's lost steam, it has held these levels quite well. Crazy wick action actually going on here, like on the scalp time frames. Like you saw this long play here. Not it's a textbook standard div, but you still get the uptrend anchor trigger. It was like an anchor trigger setup. Now we're back down under the June anchor. That's kind of a scary wick. So us struggling and getting shoved down under the June anchor is kind of a little bit telling. I would have to see more interaction on this June anchor situation. You know, sometimes a high wick like that can be like a future target for price action. Other times it can mean what it looks like, which is sellers harshly rejecting that move. Obviously, if you know, you get some bad action, like look on the 30-minute, this looks like this looks pretty gnarly here on the 30-minute. It does kind of look like it needs to just like come down to that May anchor, which is actually quite a gnarly short play. That is quite a rejecting wick right there. Clate the Great says, do you trade any small caps to maximize gains or strictly BTC? Not gonna lie, man. My last couple trades have been Bitcoin. But in hindsight, I should have taken those moves on Bitcoin and applied my same trade, my same idea to more volatile coins. For sure. That being said, it's all kind of relative. Like, you could just increase your leverage. You know, it's like you have the tools at your disposal to increase or decrease your risk however you want on any coin you want. You have infinite options, so I would say just trade the charts that you're comfortable with, the charts that play by the rules, that play by your TA and your strategies. If it's not fitting your strategy, don't trade it, because there's so many other options. Whether it's that day is a bad day for the entire space in terms of your TA and it's hard to get a read, or if it's just that one particular coin. Clate the Great says, hop on AVAX, Tia, and Sui. They're quick movers. Yeah, man. Yeah. I would say that before jumping into like trading shit coins like a maniac, you know, make sure you practice a little bit first. I would say that if you're going to start trading like Pepe and you have not, if you've only traded Bitcoin, then I would recommend like starting with smaller positions, right? And get used to like the different leverage, the different metrics and all those things. Get used to trading a coin before you just jump into it, because otherwise your risk metrics might not be like correct. Fireaway Production says TON USD did something similar, had a 3% move up and gave up its gains in the span of 9 hours. Yeah, you have like a bear div and then this big like 30-minute spike wave here. Damn, it even created it swept the highs. Created a bear div, swept the highs. Damn. Let's see here. TON coin over its April anchor, having a good quarter. That's our year to date down there. So our year to date holding us up. Man, kind of up in the clouds. Looking a bit bearish divergent in its current form. But it does have, TON has some good support down at $7.20. And then again at $6.62. And then again at $6.40. So TON has a lot of levels where it could still kind of come up. But I would say that it looks quite bearish for now. We may have to come down to that June anchor, right? Just a nice correction down to the June anchor, a little 10%er. Yeah. Simple ideas like that really pay off, man. Just, you know, you have your target, just wait patiently. These coins are so volatile that even if, like, you know, let's say you're bearish, right? Just make a target for yourself, like a VWAP. Either it's, you know, it could be the VWAP at this low right here. You know, slap a VWAP on that low, and just really hit it hard that it's gonna go there and do that. You know, so yeah. Fireaway Production says the anchors have been a huge game changer for me. That's so good to hear, man, because I would say they have for me as well. You know, last cycle, I only traded with Market Cipher B and the SR VWAP, and so I was literally on the intraday VWAP, you know, not knowing if it's a volatile day or a sideways day, having no indication of like, oh, it was a good quarter, it was a good year, it was a good week, none of that. I was just like looking for wave readings off the intraday, you know, just like trying to catch like just hidden bull dips. Like I would see like, okay, we're trigger waving, you know, we're higher up now, we come over the intraday, I'll just, you know, screw it, I'll go in and long, right? That was like my strategy for years, and it was hit or miss, right? But overall I did pretty good with it. So that's a nice strategy, but I feel like a robot would trade off this intraday VWAP a lot better than me. So like I wasn't perfect with it, but it got the job done. Whereas the anchored VWAP tool is just amazing. Like being able to place a VWAP and being like, okay, I mean, this changes everything. Now when the price is over the intraday and the June VWAP, it's like very strong confidence that it's an uptrend, right? Whereas, you know, now we're under the intraday, but still above the June VWAP. And so now, you know, it's like, okay, it's bearish. Bears have a chance to take the reins, but they're likely just going to trade down to the June VWAP. You know, so it's like, I love, all you need is that one extra line, and like, it adds a lot. What you could also do is add market Cipher DBSI to your chart. Add that 200 moving average, and now you have even stronger trend bias. You have a green upslope DBSI. Not only does it act as decent enough support and resistance, even though it's not volume weighted, so it's not as clean. I just love the trend bias component. The slope really matters, whether the price is interacting with it or not. You know, you see an upsloped DBSI, and that is going to influence the trend. And then you start seeing the DBSI turning red, and I mean, you can see that it really does influence the trend. And like when you slip underneath all three, like see the DBSI, the intraday, and the June VWAP, it's like bam, and now you get that extra follow through. Doesn't happen all the time though. Like see how here we pump over the DBSI, the intraday, and the June anchor, but we get rejected there. So it doesn't happen all the time, but I'm just saying it's really good trend bias. Pairing VWAPs with an EMA, someone said it in the chat earlier, like the application of an EMA or a moving average in general with VWAPs is kind of like the last final evolution of the strategy. Brian Shannon, the creator of the anchored VWAP tool, he also uses, I believe he uses a fixed 5-day moving average, not an EMA, just a 5-day moving average that's the same across all time frames, and like that's how he employs good trend bias to his VWAP plays. Luna Moon Rocket says, what time would you recommend? Let's see here, hold on. Luna Moon Rocket says, what time frame would you suggest a beginner to look at? That's a good question, man, because the reality is that no matter what trade you are entering, whether it's a scalp, a swing, an investment, anytime you're looking at charts and you're thinking about any kind of move at all, you need to look at all the time frames, or at least one of each category. And I break time frames down into 3 categories. You have environmental time frames such as the monthly. So we'll go to we'll just go to like Bitcoin's lifetime chart here. So an environmental time frame is pretty much going to be like the daily and up. So it's up to you whether you want to go super huge. You know, you do want to look at these really big ones like the monthly, the quarterly, the 12-month every now and then, just to kind of get an idea of what things are looking like on that lifetime, the lifetime of that asset. Especially if you're looking at legacy assets like gold, you know, it's like things that just go back like 100 years. These charts are really important. Now on Bitcoin, I believe that like the weekly chart is really important. Like whatever the weekly is doing, you know, these are all environmental time frames. Like this tells you that you're kind of in a divergent, potentially bearish point in Bitcoin's life cycle, right? So that's the environment that we're in on, like based off this weekly chart. Kind of like, you know, back here when this wave was looking a little like slipping under the zero and looking a little sketchy. So, you know, you have the environmental time frames. Now, the next thing you want to look at is the planning time frame. A planning time frame is going to be pretty much anything from the 1 hour to like the 12 hour. And so these are time frames where you come in here and you have that read of the environmental time frames, but now you're looking for like actual plays. You're basically the eagle soaring over, you know, you examine what biome you're in. Is it a desert or a forest? But now you got to scope out some prey. You got to look for a weasel or an otter or some sort of prey animal to swoop down on. And you do that in these middle time frames. You see, okay, the 8 hour looks a little bit oversold. You know, maybe there's a bull div forming here on the 8 hour. And so now you go into the execution time frames, which is your 30-minute and below, these small time frames. And this is where you execute on the idea that you formed on that planning time frame. So if you decided on the 4 hour chart that it looks like a long opportunity, you're now going to come on to the 3-minute here. You know, you slap on your intraday VWAP, you know, so you have something to really work with, and like, oh, okay, damn, like we are gaining some traction on top of the intraday. You know, we did find a nice support on that May VWAP. You know, screw it. This is where you lay down the trade, right? This is where you're on the exchange, you know, fiddle around with the order books, trying to get your limit order in and like really trying to make this shit happen, right? So you need all three. You need the environmental time frame, you need the planning time frame, but then you got to execute, man. You got to swoop down and you got to come for that weasel, bro. Clate the Great says, do you not use DBSI? Lately, I have not, because my leapfrog strategy has been playing out pretty nicely and it's been pretty simple. But and also the DBSI, I mean, there's no reason I have not been using it other than the fact that like when I go live, I honestly it's like I feel like my chart's already pretty cluttered, right? So it's kind of more for you guys that I don't have the DBSI up, but I'll start using it more if you guys want me to employ DBSI more in my TA. Like, it's great, man. I definitely use the actual EMA more than the numbers here on DBSI. The numbers are cool, and the new indicator coming out in the next couple months, like Secret Weapon, has even better numbers. But for me, it's this EMA line right here. When it's red, that's just like, you know, you get price action under an intraday, under a big anchor, under the DBSI, and that's some good trend directional bias there for you. Zed Carmood says the Dixie looks bullish. Oh shit, man, the Dixie is rallying, man. Dixie's rallied up, man. A little bit of that fake out to the downside was all it took, man. Looks like we are trudging upwards here. I mean, shit, man. The Dixie looks quite... I mean, look how... Man. It seems like it's a surefire play to that neckline, right? You got like this really nice rounded formation here. I wish I could slap a VWAP on this chart, but I cannot. But I feel like if you could, you would probably see that like we found some support on that. Yeah, man. Dixie's not looking hot, man, which is obviously like bad for cryptos. And also the crypto charts themselves don't look so hot, unlike the weekly time frames. Meanwhile, the S&P just kind of continues to trudge up higher. Let's see here. Actually, the S&P's money flow on like the 30-minute is pouring out. A little bit overbought. Yeah, it's... I don't know. Dean says his VWAPs work on the Dixie, man. Maybe it's my chart, bro. I don't know. I'll figure it out then. If it's working for you, then maybe I have to use a different chart or something. But that's it for my update tonight. So I got one more stream tomorrow, and then I go on my trip. And so I'm gonna be taking like a week off from streaming, and I'll be updating on Twitter if anything crazy happens in the markets. Like, I'll be on Twitter, so make sure go ahead and follow FloppingGroper on Twitter. If you want to follow the fight that I'm sponsoring, go ahead and follow Kai Stewart here on Instagram. He's my guy that I'm sponsoring, so you'll see the FloppingGroper YouTube channel on his attire, and I'm gonna be eating steaks with him and networking with him. He's a good kid, hardworking dude, and I just love fighters, man. Like, they're so disciplined, and like, traders have a lot to learn from the fighting world, in my opinion. Also, Cipher, the indicator that I use in my analysis, you can pick this up. Code Titanic is 15% off. You can use my affiliate link in the description below. And I just want to say thank you guys for coming out every night and supporting me. So far, like, I haven't shilled any like exchange affiliate links or whatever. I don't enter a trade on every TA idea that I give, but I do put my ideas out there. And I just hope you guys take it all with a grain of salt, and like, just reserve the right to change your mind on things, to form your own ideas. Don't just like do everything I say, right? Because I'm just a dude. So yeah, God bless you guys, and have fun out there, and I'll see you tomorrow.